Good evening. Call the regular meeting of the Fairborn City Schools Board of Education to order Thursday, August 3rd, 2017. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Marshall, please call the roll.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Malott?
Here.
Mr. Browning?
Here.
Ms. Luce is absent. Mr. McCourt?
Here.
Okay. A motion to approve the agenda as presented with an addendum, which is page 10 to your handouts.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to item 5, the superintendent's report. Mr. North.
We're going to start off. Mike's here to join us and share an update on the Greene County Career Center. So, Mike, take it away.
And thank you, Mr. North and members of the board. I really thought it was started at 6:30, but I normally am early, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Hey, just in time.
Just in time. Anyway, what's going on at the Career Center? First of all, back to school night is set for the 10th of August. Juniors will begin on the 16th. The annual back to school night is going to have orientation sessions. Oh, we're going to have new Lenovo, actually iPads for all the students. We're going to have a one-on-one starting this year, and we're going to take some time to introduce them to that and lay out all of the ways that we're going to use it. It's a pretty neat system, and our staff has been furiously trying to figure out how it works and how they're going to use it. It's sort of interesting. And one of the things that our superintendent, Mr. Deskins, did for us over the course of the last couple of months was look at all of the ways that we serve all of the different school districts. Turns out that of the seniors that just graduated, 62% of the students, seniors in Fairborn, participated in a Career Center course, or either here or at the Career Center. And 50-some-odd% of the juniors did. So over 50% of the students in the Fairborn school system, juniors and seniors, are involved in the Career Center. Looks like we're also going to have the incoming class total is going to be 354 new students at the Career Center. So 62 of them, by the way, are coming from Fairborn. So we're ginning up. On a kind of related note, we found out from the 2-year budget was passed. The part that we were really looking for was vetoed by the governor, and we did not override. And that we had hoped was going to give us some financial help in building a new school, because with what we're doing, as it turns out, with all of the HVAC problems that we had, and you may have read about them. Our school, we had the OSFC come in and do a survey, and like they did here, and it turns out that to bring our school, as it sits right now, back up to current standards, would be $24 million. Building a new school would be about $50 million. So we're all trying to pound our heads against the wall to figure out what we're going to do about that, now knowing that we're not going to get $25 million from the state. And we're sorting that out. I was hoping to be able to bring you some good news this month, and it was better than having no news last month, so I don't have any good news. I do have news. We have 2 new courses. I think I mentioned that last time I was here. We have a sports and exercise science course, and then the multidiscipline Career X programs that we're starting up this year. And Career X is sort of a way to help those that are going to need help finding work after they graduate. And of course, the science and sports and exercise science is really aimed towards people who are interested in becoming physical therapists or having anything to do with the new career of helping people. And God knows that with all of us getting old, physical therapists, and folks that can help out in the medical field are going to be an ever-growing career field. And I love the way you guys agree with me, Jerry.
I agree with you.
Satellite programs are also expanding. Let's see, we provide marketing, engineering, and family and consumer science programs here at Fairborn. Let's see, the largest satellite edition in the county is actually happening in Beaver Creek, where Coy and Ankeny middle schools have made available app design and development for 7th and 8th graders, and automation and robotics, plus flight and space for 8th graders. So this is all connected to our overall Take Flight initiative, and I'm sure, and we'll be working with all the other school districts to see how this goes and and trying to fit programs that are appropriate to the different school districts. Finally, the Career Center is going to be celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. We're having an all-class reunion on September 14th. Everybody's invited, especially those who are alumni and teachers. But we'll have music, ice cream, food, hot rod cruise-in, hay rides, and more. Nomination forms are going to be available for a Hall of Honor, and it will be the celebration, although it sounds like it should be held at the Agricultural Research Center, also known as the ARC, out there in the country. It's actually going to happen at the main campus on West Enon Road. So anybody who is interested in going, you can contact Ron Bolander at the Career Center, and I'm going to send contact information to the board along with the latest Career Center newsletter this week. So that's basically what I have to offer. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't right now, thanks.
I happened to catch Monday night a PBS program called Job-Centered Learning, which had a pretty strong focus on some of the types of activities that go on at the Career Center, and they were following some of the students through the process, and it's some of the things that you have said in the past, that they can come out of there and have a good paying job with no debt. And,
Yes.
And some of the other interesting things that were in there is that the students, once they got involved in doing a lot of this hands-on stuff, and it was across several different career fields, that they started to recognize the value of the math and geometry and chemistry classes and things like that they had been taking, and that their grades improved because they saw value in what was going on. So,
absolutely, and quite honestly, that's one of the things that just gets me so happy or fulfilled about working at the Career Center, because there are a lot of students that I've talked to. A lot of them, we have presentations almost every month from different careers, if you will, different majors, and to a person, it's like they've come to Career Center and they found what they needed, a way for them to learn that they couldn't find elsewhere, or they're having difficulty finding elsewhere. Something where they could use their hands, and people that use their motor skills sometimes learn better with those than those of us who are blessed with really poor hand-eye coordination, but reasonably good minds. So I mean, I was never going to be a mechanic, but I could be an engineer, because we really don't do anything. We just write things. But thank you very much, Andy. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eaker.
Next up, we have Mr. Gary Walker. Gary will be providing the annual bullying report. This is something we do each year at the beginning of the school year to share the number of reported bullying issues that we've had in the buildings. It does not mean necessarily that that's how many times bullying took place, but it's how many times it's been reported and been investigated. So Gary's going to provide that information at this time.
This year, we had 9 bullying reports filed that we investigated. Of those 9 investigations, only 3 of them turned out to be bullying incidents. 6 of those occurred at Baker, and 1 of them was a bullying incident. 3 of them occurred at
The intermediate.
the intermediate building, and 2 of them turned out to be bullying incidents. So of the 9, we had 3. Okay?
So the high school students were behaving themselves?
We had no bullying reported
Reported.
bullying incidents from the high school.
Good.
Or from the primary.
Now, on the other side of that, that also does not mean that bullying's not taking place.
Well, yeah.
Because, what we have is only the information that's provided. But, we want to make students aware, and there's conversation that goes from the primary school up through the high school, that when something's happening that's not right, whether it's bullying or anything else, we want students to be able and supported in reporting things that may be happening in the school that is not acceptable, standards within our school system. And, there was a day when it was really looked at as, tattling or narking, or, there was all kinds of negative terms. But over the years, there's been a great deal of stress on civic duty to announce, or to when you understand and have at least a belief that something's wrong, to report that. And so again, we want students to feel comfortable if they feel like this is taking place, to be able to share that with our staff members, and so that we can investigate it. So, thank you, Gary. Last thing I have on superintendent's report, and I'm going to ask Dr. Brackenhoff to help me with the information, is the permanent improvement items that we've been taking care of this summer. I'll share with you what we've been doing in regards to the buildings and grounds, and then Sue will follow up with where we're at with our technology improvements that are taking place throughout the district. Our transportation department, in addition to the district's plan to order 4 new buses every year to replace a very old fleet, we also took care of some much-needed work inside the mechanic shop. So we improved the lighting in this shop, as well as replaced a front entry door and addressed the potholes that were in the parking lot, so that we can cut down on some of those maintenance issues that happen because of the potholes. Can't control what happens outside the transportation lot, but we certainly can with inside the lot. So the potholes have all been filled. In the athletic department, in addition to the normal mowing of the fields and getting the football field and the soccer field ready for fall, we've finished painting the stadium. The first half of the stadium was painted last summer, and the second half, the tunnel area in the front of the stadium, was painted this summer. As also, we have replaced boards throughout the bleachers. And the other thing that's taking place is we have a company that's coming in and working on the drainage system that surrounds the football field. Last year, we cleaned those all out, but just by simply cleaning them out did not improve how the field drained. And so we have a company that's coming in next week, and they're going to make a second attempt of actually doing some extended work, so that field will drain and not look like a small lake on Friday night after a good rain. In the high school, lots of things are taking place. Several carpets, such as in here, have been cleaned. Other places, carpets have been replaced that needed to be replaced. There's been painting throughout the building. We have some leaks through our walls that we are addressing currently. You'll notice when you walk into the front of the building, places where there's large dirt patches that's been seeded, and there's also some landscaping that's taking place out beside the semi-trailer to kind of hide that van trailer. I believe they marked that area today after meeting with Mr. Greta to make sure that we accomplish the task of trying to hide that trailer somewhat, but also not interfere with the band practice field. So they'll start planting some landscape there. In addition to that, there's been underground electrical wiring run out to the field for the band to use, as well as we have a pump out there that we need to plug into with a wrap to keep it warm so it doesn't freeze so our pipes don't freeze. So the electrical outlets have been installed and the underground wiring's been run. We've made some office changes where we have now all of our administrators in one area, and they're not spread out through the building. The one modular trailer has been removed. We have 2 modular trailers that are horrible shape with lots of problems. We have 1 trailer still back there, and we're going to work on finding ways to relocate the items that are in that trailer to a place where it's still accessible and can be, somebody can get to when they need it. But the goal is to, by next year, to have the second modular trailer removed, and that will not only take care of just a very unsightly area, but take care of the problems that's associated with old trailers that have run down and issues are building up with them. In the middle school, again, there's some leaks throughout the building into the walls that we're addressing right now. The plaster in the auditorium, for years, the windows in that auditorium have had a pretty good sized space in them, and lots of moisture's got in there, and it's damaged the plaster. So we sealed those windows so that moisture would not get through them, and we repaired the plaster in the auditorium. There's been painting throughout the middle school, including the cafeteria. The stairs will be repaired in front of the building. There's issues where people have injured themselves from those stairs, so we're going to make sure that's taken care of by the time school starts. There's signage that's being added to the doors, and we're replacing the stage padding in the gym where the varsity teams, boys and girls varsity teams play. Potholes have been patched there. We took an old storage room and converted it into what we're referring to as an annex cafeteria. The 8th grade class that left was a small class, and the 7th grade class is one of our bigger classes, who will be 8th graders this year. And the 6th graders last year, who are 7th graders this year, is also one of our largest classes. And the class following, the 5th graders coming in 6th grade, those are our 3 largest classes. And there's not enough room in that cafeteria for all those kids. So we took a storage room and cleaned it up and painted it and put some tables and chairs in there. So we're going to have more room for kids for the cafeteria. Plumbing throughout the building's been addressed: water fountains, sinks, toilets, urinals. And we changed the office area where the main office in the middle was an office where our assistant principal is located. That's also where all of our parents come in and sign in students and sign out students and other guests. We moved the assistant principal's office down beside the what would that be, west? Yeah, the office on the west side. And so there'll be 2 administrators in there. The other administrator will be in the 6th grade wing. And basically, we wanted to get the student discipline issues that we would have out of that main office where all of our guests are coming in throughout the day. So there are some of the things at the middle school. Intermediate school, again, all the plumbing issues have been addressed. Playground dirt and mulch is going to be addressed before school starts. There's drains there also that in the playground that needed to be addressed so that the kids were not playing mud or puddles of water. And at the primary school, several plumbing areas with restrooms and water fountains and and toilets, urinals that did not work. And somebody asked me the other day, why in the world are you putting any money into the intermediate school or the primary school? And I shared with them, because we still have thousands of kids that are using those buildings every day, and so we're not going to do long-term makeovers for those buildings, but we're certainly going to do basic repairs to make sure that they're suitable as long as there's students in them. We had issues with heat in classrooms, if you remember. Those have all been addressed. And probably the most noticeable thing, if you drive past the primary school, is that you will notice all the large overgrown shrubs and dead trees and bushes have been removed, and that's been cleaned up and nicely landscaped. So it'll be a nice inviting area for when students and staff return. We still need to weed and mulch the playground. And then the final building is right. We have a drainage issue there that we'll take care of so that, again, kids are not walking through water to get to the building. And we have a heating issue that is a considerable issue that needs to be taken care of. And that will be addressed before winter. So still working on that. That basically is what we're doing with permanent improvement items throughout the district. And now Sue's going to share with you what we are doing in regards to technology for this upcoming school year.
It's a busy summer all around in technology. The projects at Fairborn Primary and Fairborn Intermediate. Fairborn Primary is complete. All of the classrooms have new projectors, and teachers will get some training at the beginning of the year so they'll know how to use those. These are called short arm throw projectors, so no longer will teachers have LCD projectors on carts and try to work around them. They are actually mounted, and everything works, which is a really big plus. And at intermediate school, they will be complete the week of the 7th or the 14th. The same thing, every classroom will have working projectors. Anything that was removed from classrooms that could be recycled, we are doing that, holding them as backups or putting them in some other location. But a lot of the things that we had seen their useful life, and we weren't able to necessarily use those. In addition, in those two buildings, as well as the other buildings, each of the buildings, again, this tech plan that Steve Meese, our district tech supervisor, has worked with us on, thinking of teachers become dependent on these projectors, and every building now has 2 backup projectors, so portable ones that can be used in the event that one of the mounted ones don't work. At the primary and intermediate, we have approximately 150 new desktop computers that have been delivered. They're being configured. And beginning around October, the tech department will schedule with teachers for a time to come in so that they can transfer the information from one computer to a new computer. And so those upgrades, teachers should be thinking about moving those files over in anticipation of that. At primary and intermediate, there have also been switch upgrades. That project was started last week and should finish next week or the following week. A wireless infrastructure for wireless access points new cables have been pulled at Baker and the high school. And those access points they'll begin installing those next week at Baker and the following week at the high school. Then at the high school, there is also, it said UPS equipment, which I had to, all right, what is UPS equipment? Battery backup for these systems. So those have been purchased and installed. And then there is an ongoing virtualization project where they're pulling all of the servers into one. That's been started, and that will continue through the school year. So a lot of projects. The plan that was this summer to finish primary and intermediate. They will be in those buildings long enough that it's a good investment. And then next summer, we will begin the next phase of our technology plan. Okay.
Thank you.
Along with that, we're also addressing the phones at the primary and the intermediate building. And as Sue said, anything that we put in these buildings, we have we expect them to have a full life expectancy through the building. Some of these things, site access points, phones, other things, will have a lifespan beyond the buildings, and we will be able to transfer that hardware from the current buildings into the new building when it's built. And that hardware is not part of the OFCC co-funded payment. So we're investing now into hardware that we can use not only immediately, but we'll be able to use in our new facility.
Good.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
None here.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7, approve the minutes of the July 6th regular meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Oh, you skipped
Oh,
recognition of visitors.
sorry about that. Recognition of visitors. Item 6, sorry. If anybody wishes to address the board, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
You just about skipped Wendy.
Yeah. Sorry, Wendy.
Mine's pretty easy. I'm Wendy Landon. I'm the Fairborn Music Club president. And I just wanted to stop in because this is our band week. This is our band camp week. If you guys have been out back, these kids have been on the field for 13 hours a day for the last 4 days. And it's,
Grueling.
Anyway, tonight is a parent preview night. You guys are more than welcome to come out and watch the kids. I think that their football show will be shown tonight. I don't think they're going to show their competition show because I'm not sure it's all together. Our football show is going to feature Bruno Mars. So it's about three songs from Bruno Mars, and there's some pretty tough songs for these kids. So you guys are invited to come out and see them. But I also wanted to say thank you to the school board for your awesome support, to Mr. North, and for your help too. I have all kinds of questions. This is like my second year. I'm going into my second year being president, and I'm learning a lot from different people. And it's been great to get to know the school board, and from all their help that they've given me. I'm very, very glad to have got to know you guys, and you guys are attending all of our competitions and coming to our shows and our meetings, and we want to show our appreciation. So we did get school board members.
Yeah.
This is our show shirt this year, and it's called The Tribe. I have not seen it. I have no idea what it looks like on the field. And then these are our competitions. So you guys are
Excellent.
always more than welcome to come to our competitions. And this is a list of the shows that they're at. So this year, I think we got a couple of different ones, just because we have a lot of new freshmen and we have a lot of outgoing seniors this year. I think we have 17 or 18 seniors that are going to be leaving us this year, which is a lot. So, but we want to thank you guys again for everything that you've done for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. The big one's the last one, right? Band OA, the Grand Nationals.
Yeah. The Grand Nationals, that's in,
right.
that's in November.
November,
so.
right, in Indianapolis. Thank you very much.
Awesome. I know she's not here, so if she wants to come back and see me later, I can.
Okay.
Or unless will you guys see her at all?
We
Possibly.
can have, somebody
Yeah,
can put
we
it in
can
a
do that.
mailbox.
We'll put it in
and-
a
Yeah,
mailbox. Yeah, just
yeah,
leave it
she's
there.
got a
We'll take
mailbox,
care
we
of
can put
Well,
it
you
in.
know what, I'm sure I'll see her again.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll just get it to her.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited. That's
I
awesome.
know.
I love a good t-shirt.
It's actually a soft one.
It is, ooh, it's nice.
Oh, yeah, that's
Sweet.
right, I forgot.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you so much.
No,
It's too big.
I'm not done yet. I'm
He's
sorry.
not done yet. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Wendy.
That's awesome.
Nice of him to
Now I
ask
have
you,
something to wear to the contest, right?
Yeah.
To the competitions. Yeah, you're probably right.
Oh, maybe a sweatshirt.
Thank you.
That's great.
Anybody else for recognition of visitors?
Well, if we don't have any more recognition of visitor, I need to rewind. I had asked Twyla and Gretchen to share with the board. We had our first day of our administrative workshop today. We'll follow up tomorrow. We'll finish tomorrow. I've asked our union presidents to attend this, and they were so kind to take time out of their summer to come in and sit through an administrative workshop today and tomorrow. And as I said to both of them, they don't owe me anything. they can say whatever they want. There's really not a thing I can do about it. So I think you just really can't find any more of an impartial assessment of maybe what we're doing to prepare for the school year. So I asked Gretchen and Twyla if they would take a minute to speak to the board and just share with them their perspective of what we're working on, because quite frankly, as we discussed today, there's going to be a lot of change in culture in many, many ways, and it's all focused around what we're going to do for what's best for kids. It's going to be centered around being consistent as a district and each building and each department working off the same page. And there's lots of changes, and sometimes change is hard for people, but I think as long as we all can agree that, you know, what we do here is, when we say we're here for kids, it's not a cliche. It's a practice, and it comes down to, as I shared with our administrative team today, we have people with the knowledge, and our people know how important this task is, and now it's time for us to demonstrate how much we do care through our actions. And so with that, I'll leave it up to Gretchen and Twyla to share some of the things that we talked about today that we're going to be talking to the staff about as throughout the school year. With that.
Can
I sit right here?
Sure.
Sure.
I give you a microphone so we'll record?
Teacher voice.
It
It
won't,
will pick up on the.
Can you,
On the
can you sing
recording.
the fight song?
Jerry can tap dance, though.
Stacy.
we won't go there.
We'll table that one.
All right, I'll stand over here so that, because I have this microphone now. First of all, I was pleasant surprised that we were called and asked to come to the administrative meeting, because that was unexpected, and very much appreciated that finally someone is interested and wants to know what the teachers and the other staff point of view is and how we can all work together. We have a leader. We have, we're going in a good direction. There's a lot of things that, positive changes that are being made, changes that are being made to bring us all together. And it's nice to see everybody coming in on the same page. I mean, we've talked about things from homework to what classwork looks like, what else did we? I mean, we talked about a whole slew of things today that are just communication with parents and things that we're going to be doing district-wide that everybody's going to be on the same page doing. So hopefully our parents and community will feel more welcome, and I'm excited, and things are changing around here, and it's nice.
I really don't need a mic. I got a big mouth, but.
No. Again, I echo what Twyla said. It was just awesome that the superintendent thought enough of us to have us sit in on an administrative workshop. I was tremendously surprised. Thanks for the cash, Mark. No, just kidding. No, seriously. If everybody in Fairborn, if everybody that has an interest in Fairborn City Schools could be at this meeting today, it was just awesome. It was just awesome. Changes coming. It's great changes that are coming. Everybody, I am so excited. I have 2 children that graduated from Fairborn, Colleen graduating in 2003, James in 2008, and I just would give anything if they could have had you as their superintendent. You were on the board, but the rest of you on the board. It's an exciting time. It was wonderful. It truly was wonderful. I'm very honored to be an employee of the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I want to share with everyone, full disclosure. I told both these ladies that I have 2 teenage daughters, and I have no money to pay them. I would also like to take a moment, and Sue, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you could share a little bit about the content today. Twyla touched upon it with our discussions about, what classwork looks like and what homework should look like, and some of these other things. But if you wouldn't mind, Sue, if you could share some of the other content, and then we'll update the board on tomorrow later.
I think we started conversations that I would categorize getting down into the weeds today. We talked about organizational consistency. So there were conversations about staff handbooks, the contents of those, trying to align those so that the message we're giving to our staff is consistent across the building. We've already done that with our student handbooks. This was the first year we've done that, so we know there's some improvements along the way. But we want the message that we give to our teachers, to our staff, to our parents, the community, to be consistent across all of our buildings. So that's kind of where we started, big picture level. And we talked about our state report card, how testing impacts everything we do, and the plan to address some of our deficits, as well as some of the things that we can celebrate. So as we move forward, there will be data team meetings with each of the building administrative team talking about their specific building data. And then our district data coach, Melissa Williams, will also be working with me, and we will be conducting meetings with all of our staff, presenting them with their individual data and trying to make connections between the reports that we get about testing and what we actually do in the classroom. We began in-depth conversation, as Twyla and Gretchen said, about homework, classwork. We talked about report cards. We talked about Progress Book as a communication tool and how we can better utilize that, as well as supporting our teachers with the training so that they really see what a powerful tool that is. And we have some plans for tomorrow to continue the conversations with a discussion of teacher evaluation, again, recognizing that it's a partnership so that our goal is to support our teachers and grow them to becoming better teachers that serve students. And we have a district evaluation committee that works with us to help really align that. And so we will have that conversation tomorrow, along with a conversation about some of the other organizational or management things we have. But I think the biggest thing was, again, as Twyla and Gretchen said, consistency across buildings and really getting to the depth of what we are about, which is about not just about teaching, most importantly about learning and what we can do to support each other and to make the experience that students have here in Fairborn City Schools the best it can be. So it was a very powerful day. I told Mark, in all the years I've been an administrator, this just felt like such a great start to the school year, and we finally got down to the kinds of things that we seem to skip over, getting down into the weeds. When you talk about what good classroom instruction looks like, what should homework look like, again, so that we're delivering a top quality educational experience for every child. So it was a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to approval of last month's board minutes. May I have a motion?
I'll still make a
All right,
motion,
all right.
yes.
Thank you, Mr. McCord.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Item 8, the treasurer's report.
Can everybody see that? Jean, can you turn the lights off? So this is everyone's favorite part of the meeting. So tonight we're going to be looking at the June 30th, 2017. It's actually the fiscal year-end financial statements, so this is where we ended up for the entire 16-17 school year. our total revenues came in about $109,000 lower than the prior year revenues. This was anticipated. We had a large increase in state funding, but we had a one-time back payment for Medicaid reimbursement payments last year, so we were expecting our revenues to end a little bit lower this year than they did last year. Overall, we had received right around 100% of what we had forecast to receive during the year. Again, I update the forecast in May, so it's pretty easy to estimate what our receipts are going to look like, unless something crazy happens in June, but that doesn't typically happen. Our expenditures, we ended up at close to $1 million higher than where we were at the end of last year. This was mostly due to, we had a one-time transfer that we did into the permanent improvement fund to create the capital improvements that Mr. North talked about tonight. So overall, our expenses stayed relatively steady compared to the same time last year. A lot of that's due to timing, though. We had a lot of expenditures that were budgeted to spend for technology and different things that didn't get spent by the end of the year. So there were outstanding encumbrances and purchase orders, and they'll be spent at the beginning of this year. So overall, we spent 95% of what was forecast to be spent, which was right around $2 million from what we had forecast. And our encumbrances ended up being about $1.4 million from what was forecast. So our cash balance at the end of June 30th was $21.4 million. We had outstanding encumbrances of $1.4 million, so our unencumbered balance was $19.9 million. And we ended up about $3.6 million higher than we were at the prior year. This is just the same thing I show every month, our running cash balance at the end of each month and the roller coaster that it does due to timing and collections. Overall, we had $2.4 million as average monthly expenses for salaries and benefits, a little over $1 million for everything else, for a total of $3.5 million. We had 309 certified employees, including substitutes, and 264 classified employees, including substitutes. And this was what was on the payroll for June 30. Our investments, there wasn't much change from what I presented last month. We still have about $8.6 million in long-term investments and operating funds. And again, we have our money deposited in the Star Ohio so we can collect a little bit of interest, a little bit more interest than if it stayed in our regular checking account. So our total operating investments, which include all of our funds, including grants and food service and debt service, were $25 million. Oh, I think I skipped that. And these are our bond construction accounts. So while we're waiting on the buildings to be built, which next spring we're looking for groundbreaking, we have those monies invested and they're timed to come due as the construction goes on. And this is the checking account reconciliation for the year. And we balance to zero, which is what we always want to do. And that's all I have. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marshall. We'll move on to item 9, the consent agenda, which runs through the top of page 6. And it's the usual issues of the personnel office and business office, student services. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Any discussion on any of these items from anybody?
I think under number 5, we need to correct Marcel to Marcy. Sorry.
That's
Is that her full name? Okay.
Anything else? Call the roll.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Maud?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item 10, Treasurer's Office, approve the June 2017 financial report and approve then and now purchase, 4 then and now purchase orders. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Any comments?
We have several then and now purchase orders on this agenda, and I need to apologize for that. This is due to the timing of when the purchase orders were in place versus when the invoice is dated or when the services are rendered. And that's something we're working to correct in the future. There were a lot of vacations over the summer, and so some things happened without getting purchase orders in place. I hate to say that I'm afraid you will see a few on next month's agenda as well. So, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes,
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Maud?
Yes.
motion carries. Item 11, gifts and donations. Mr. McCourt?
Oh, gifts and donations. Once again.
It's a long list tonight.
Yeah. And the names are simple. Kenneth Brown, $100 donation for school supplies. Without a lot of these people donating what they do, it would be tough. So we do appreciate each and every donation we get, and thank you so much.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Item 12, new business. We have the Miami Valley sponsorship agreement, several items listed through actually it goes to the bottom of page 7 and the motion at the top of page 8, so. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any discussion on these items?
I would like to mention item B. I'm very excited about it. I sent the board an email about this, but this is a Bonefish system, so it's an electronic vendor audit system and electronic payroll audit system, and I always get excited about auditing things. But what this is going to help, it's going to help protect the district against potential fraud and decrease our risk for that sort of thing. And we've not had any issues with any of that. But it will also, the payroll system will also help us look to check for licensures and things like that to make sure, because there's actually an Ohio Revised Code that says I can't pay somebody if they're not properly licensed. So this system will help me do that.
Okay, does it give a warning flag that people are coming due?
Yeah, well, yes, so that's all done through HR. They do,
Okay.
they send letters for months long before they need to have renewals done. But this is when the payroll system will say, don't pay these people, they're not licensed. So I'm excited about it. Anyway.
Good.
Also, the CEP program, community eligibility provision, item E and, F and G really are kind of all related. The community eligibility provision is the program that we participate in. It's a federal program that offers reimbursement so that we are able to provide lunch at no cost to our kids in
Right.
grades kindergarten through 5th. And they're approving no increase in lunch prices, so the prices are staying the same. And as we've done for the last 2 years, since we've been on the CEP program, we're waiving fees for the kindergarten through 5th grade, the instructional fees.
Okay. And I see the resolution for 4 new buses is on here also.
Good.
Always buying buses.
I had a question on the bus situation. I know we were into buying buses like for a year, from what I understand. In other districts, I see a lot of vans transporting maybe kids' athletics teams that don't have large numbers playing for them. Is this something that, I mean, I've never seen this, well, I shouldn't say never. Years ago, we had a van. but I've never seen a van in our district being used. Is this something we have ever thought about doing to maybe save some gas instead of running the buses?
I can speak to that.
Chief, please.
There, I guess this is, you know, maybe one of the few advantages of being old. And serving as the superintendent for 20 years. There's been changes with, I mean, there was a time where many school districts used vans. At one point, there was regulations where school districts were not allowed to use vans. They had to use buses. You're starting to see some emerging interest or use in vans some now. I do not know what the current regulation on that is.
Mm-hmm.
I know from past experience, you know, when you look at a van, there's still limitations to how many kids that you can use them for. And, you know, you take, for example, our athletic teams. You may be able to put our golf team in a van. That might be it. You know, I don't know who else
Yeah, I was thinking
would be
maybe
a
tennis or something.
small enough group, because when you have a driver and you know, coach and your players and, you know,
Equipment
them,
and-
you're very limited.
Okay.
And, you know, that's probably something that I should check into to see if regulations have changed, but then we need to do a study for, you know, what's best for us at Fairborn as far as, you know, is that van gonna, in the long run, save us money, or is it gonna sit there and we put a large investment into a piece of equipment that does not get used very often?
Okay.
So that's something that Gene and I probably should, when I say Gene and I, Gene. Should
that
probably
one.
look at sometime when the dust settles a little bit after the school started, and see what the advantages and disadvantages, you know, would
Okay.
be.
Yeah. All righty, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay.
All right.
We'll call the roll.
Mrs. Malat?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, board member reports and good of the order. Mr. Browning.
Okay. Yeah, the month of July is a fairly quiet month, as everybody knows, but, you know, I wanted to talk a second about what Mark went over in terms of repairs to the buildings and those kind of things. And, you know, walking through what I've looked at, the buildings look very good right now for what we can do with them. And I think, you know, keeping the primary and intermediate functional for the kids is very important also, because they are going to be in there for a few more years. So appreciate all the work that's gone into that. And, you know, our staff also in terms of custodians, maintenance, and everybody that's done the work on those buildings, because they do look good right now for what we have. The athletic programs, they, you know, if you walk out, they're all doing their preseason practices right now. The band is in band camp right now, getting ready. So it's kind of exciting because we're getting ready to start another year. And everybody will be back on the 21st. Well, that's opening day for the teachers, I think, is the 21st, and then students return on the 23rd. So it won't be long, and the buildings will be full again, which is pretty neat. And the workshop, you know, I really appreciated the update on the workshop, and Twyla, and you guys coming is, to me, is unbelievable.
Oh, there was, the cash thing,
Okay.
We know that's more good-natured bantering, so.
Yeah, because what was going through my head as the discussion was going on, you know, especially with Gretchen and Twyla, was we've come a long way in a year under Mr. North's leadership, and I just wanted to say thank you, because that's what we need as a district. And we got a lot of work to do, but it's about the kids, and we got to keep the focus on the kids. So that's it.
Okay, Mr. McCourt.
Yeah, I had a couple things. Was able to attend a fundraiser for the football team at Giovanni's the other night. Good dinner and a lot of good people down there. And I think there was over $2,000, maybe $2,300 raised that night. So kudos to all involved. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, I know, was deeply involved with that, but also the athletes themselves were there serving, and, everybody was kind of helping themselves. So that was good. On a sad note, I attended Mrs. Ackerman's passing viewing the other night, and I go way back with that family, and but a lot of good people there paying their respects. My gosh, I saw young and old people and administrators and teachers I haven't seen in years. So, our prayers are still with the Ackerman family. Welcome back to all the secretaries. I guess they're starting Monday, so I'd like to welcome them back. They come back early to try to knock down the craziness and before the kids get here. And I know each and every one of the secretaries got their hands full. We've got new secretaries at a couple of the buildings. Hopefully we have a lot of patience in trying to train those, because some it takes a little while. But new secretaries, Gretchen's going to Baker, I guess, and we have a new secretary at the primary, and Mrs. Whited. So I'm glad to hear both of those ladies will be starting on Monday and getting their stuff in order. But as Jerry mentioned, the custodians, every time around this time, I talk about it a lot, but these people, they turn a building that's old and tired into shiny and new again. And
Almost new.
I do appreciate that, appreciate their efforts as well. And again, I stopped in the AD office the other day just to say hi to the new athletic director, and missed him. He was out, so he was out running around doing something. So, but would again like to welcome him, and I ask each and every one of you all out here to lend a hand and support for him, in what he's coming up and going to be doing. Full schedule here, real quick like. So, and as Jerry also said, I appreciate the work, the leadership Mark and Nicole has given us. Throughout the year. I never would have believed we would have been this far along, but I say that, and I can't wait for 2 more years to come along. So I know we're going to be that much further along with new buildings maybe, or one new building anyway. But I appreciate everybody's input. Michael, appreciate you coming out and give us a report. Say hi to my son when you see him, and that's all I have.
Okay. Mrs. Moore.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
I don't have much to add other than I remember what it's like as a teacher to be in these last few weeks before school starts. And you're all shiny and bright, and it's so exciting. So hold on to that as long as you can. And it sounds like you all have a really exciting place to start from, and that's always really good to know when you feel supported and when you have a lot in front of you to look forward to. So, and I have to say that how many more days till my 7th grader goes back? I'm very looking forward to turning her over to all of you. But she's had a very quiet summer and can't wait to see her friends. But anyway, I did have, we went to the Right Pat Credit Union opening the other day, and saw some of the city people there, and I talked with them about, talked with Rob Anderson, the new city manager, about the stuff that's going on, and Tim Steiner and some of the other council people, and they are so excited about everything that's going on, and well, they should be, but I think it's absolutely wonderful that they're excited about what's happening because they're excited about what it's bringing for us. And that was really cool to hear that they're so proud of themselves, but the first thing they want to know is, how's that going to work for you guys? How's that going to, how will that translate to bringing you more kids and getting more families here and bringing you more money and all of that. So I think it's good to know that we're all still working together, and that's a pretty neat thing to have happening around here, so.
Okay. I don't have a whole bunch to add. pretty much everybody's
Said it.
said everything already. We do have the Sweet Corn Festival coming up for all the families and everybody, and also tomorrow night is the first Bluegrass and Brew event downtown, so there's 4 bluegrass bands coming, and that's a free event being put on by the city. The beer is not free. But yeah, it's exciting to see a lot of great things happening, both in the district. We have new administrative staff at many of the schools, almost all of the schools, and great things going on in the city. So looking forward to a new school year starting and seeing the school buses go by my window in the morning. While I'm having my coffee.
Mr. President, one other item, I was also at the Wright Pet Credit Union open house the other day. If you go in there, you will see the marble arch with the Fairborn football as a big picture on the wall. The arch is out back here going into the practice field, so it's kind of nice that one of our businesses have a little bit of us in their proudly displayed, in their building, so it was nice to see.
They're strong supporters of the
Yep.
schools. So.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Oh. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, adjournment, motion.
So moved?
Thank you, Mr. Browning. I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries, meeting is adjourned.